Hello everybody, I'm Seki Daguru, and in this segment, was on the social media the other day, and I commented on a post someone had made, and had shared a video there with them, and they replied to me something about my 20-minute manifesto, well, that video, which you can see is already posted there, that is not my manifesto. This is. Okay, we're going to start out chapter 1 here with, I guess we'll title this Light and Shadow. Alright, now our system, our current systems are set up in a pyramidal fashion. Much like that image on the back of the dollar bill there with that pyramid. It's cut in two pieces. It's got the eye and the piece in the top there, and we're going to use that as an example here, and we're not even going to touch on the symbolisms of that, or any societies or etc. that might be associated with that. That's not the purpose of our allusion to that symbolism here. What we are going to touch on is that yes, there are those two segments there, and really though, any solid object that you put light to, it casts a shadow, okay? And so, together, with good old geometry there, now, we put together that pyramid with its shadow, and we have a shape that we call a diamond. Okay? Well, like I said, everything casts a shadow. And that shadow is depictant of that object, okay? And see, with our society, again, we have this pyramidical fashion, the pyramid scheme, as some people call it, where, you climb the ladder, long way to the top, work your way up, etc. Well, at the top are these individuals, these people, that we call the elite, or elitists, and they have amassed immense amounts of wealth and power with that wealth, and they tend to be dissociated with the rest of society, hence that separation of those two pieces of that pyramid. And well, that section there at the top, well, they, being the elitists with all that wealth, are usually the ones that are putting this wealth into the portents of the time, the forerunners of the advancements, or the technology or whatever at the time. And now, to show you the correlation with the shadow here, is that, well, in the behind the scenes, in the dark you might say, back there in the shadows, well, there are the yins and the yangs, the white and the black, the plus and the negative, and there's the, the balance, we will say. So everything that occurs in that physical system that is casting this shadow, okay, that same has to be true of the shadow. Okay, so at the very top of your pyramid there, you've got these elite, the forerunners, the financiers, we'll say, of the day. And like I said, usually, putting that money into the, modernizations or advancements of the time, and then they're at the bottom, though. So, and they are up there, they're enjoying all this successes, all of the opulence, all of the glory and privilege of that elite society and all the wealth and everything at their fingertips, okay? Now, down there at the bottom, that shadow, and that tip of the shadow down there, you've got the exact opposite, okay? I'm getting ahead of myself trying to say there is no opulence or success or privilege there. It's the complete opposite. Dragging through the dirt, have seen and experienced every type of abuse that you can possibly think of constantly, drugged through the mud, but experiencing all of those hells and those terrors. That's where my manifesto comes to play. That's where we'll unravel it for you right here. All those people at the top, well, we can look at it like this. When your face is the one plowing into the unknown, everybody else is riding in your wake back there. When it's your face plowing into that unknown, it's painful as you can think. It's terrifying. It's terrifying. And down there at the bottom of that peak, same thing. Those down there are the elite of the dirge. Their face is also plowing into the unknown. And you know what it's like to plow face first into the unknown? Think about this. Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, the Russian cosmonaut. First ones to leave this atmosphere. Can you imagine how terrifying that must have been? And it was. You can't imagine. I've been through just about every kind of terror you can think of. Still going through them. That's not the point. The point is, I can't even imagine that kind of terror. Now, some of these guys at the top, they're doing some of those things. Think of Bezos. Going up in that rocket he built, going out into outer space for the first time. Any of those astronauts going up there for the first time. You know what? The only peace of mind they have is that it had been done before them. Otherwise, no safe space, no safe zone. Your terror is at max because there's no guarantee that rocket's going to make it to outer space. It might blow up before it even reaches any height, And once it's out there, what if it doesn't make it back? What if you're stuck there, etc., etc.? Now you can start to think about what I'm bringing to you, okay? When you are the one plowing into the unknown, it is a terror unlike anything you can think of. Now, as much as we hate the way those people live, as much as we hate their inhumanity, their separatism, their disassociation from our nightmare lives, you have to consider this. The great pumpkin head over there in that White House, he doesn't wake up every morning and, wipe the sleep out of his eyes, get up, say, time to get coffee, grab the newspaper, and get to work, It's that motherfucker, bam! Every day he wakes up like that. Why? Because no matter how big that man's constituency ever gets, it's still nothing to compare to those that could stand against him. You know, look at Elon Musk, same thing. You know, that man doesn't wake up every morning gleeful as, gleeful as the Fae and dancing around because he's so wealthy. You know, Bezos, Zuckerberg, Ellison, Putin, Xi Jinping, Kim Jong-un, they don't wake up like you think they do. They wake up in terror because it could be them at any time. You know, think about Elon Musk, okay? This guy, he wakes up and he's in fear every day because he's the richest man in the world. And, you know, bunches of kids out there, loves of his life, etc., etc. All these people are in danger because at any time somebody could come to them and try to get some information so that they can take it and make their millions and, you know, put those people in danger, put those people at risk. He's at risk. Anytime he goes out to Burning Man or anywhere else, that could be his last day, period. That might be the last latte that ever sips because of what he does have, okay? Now, like I said, as much as we hate those people and the way they live and the way that they treat others, we have to understand that they wake up in terror. They do have all that wealth, and it is undistributed, and that is an immense issue on a societal level. But these people are afraid, okay? Just like those at the bottom there. Us down there at the very tippy tip of the bottom with our faces being smashed into, you know, it's like went to the 9th level of hell. And you know what? Satan, in there, we'll say there, the duality of it. We won't get into religion and Near Eastern and Christian religion in this, but okay, but the idea is, you know, I made it to the 9th level of hell, and Satan in their wrath took my head and smashed my face into the floor, and it broke, okay? And now my face is exposed to this 10th level of hell, and you know why? He pulls my head back for another smash, bam! He gets hit with all that coming out of there. So, and that terror that he doesn't even know, because he doesn't know that terror, but now he does. In their anger, they smash my face in again, and it hits the bottom of level 10 again, smashes a hole in it. Instinctively goes to pull that freaking head back and stops and waits and thinks, you know what? Remembering what just happened to him when he dislodged my face from the last one. Oh no. Not going through that terror, but you know what? Two things. All of that blowback, you know, riding in the wake there. Everybody riding in that wake. Satano riding in that wake, you know. Pull that head back, better make sure you're in the wake so you don't get hit, okay? Number 2, that's my face in the hole. Plugging that hole up so everybody back there doesn't feel that. Just an analogy, but the point is that the man at the bottom with his face plowing through the unknown hells, that man at the top, just as terrified. And I'm telling you this, and this is part of the manifesto, because if you can understand this and truly understand this in your heart, when you go to war, maybe you won't throw your life away. Maybe with the understanding of what I'm saying, when you go into that war, you won't throw your life away because you understand what you're up against. Because you understand you're up against something that's just as terrified as you are. Like I said, I don't condone, I despise the way that they live. I despise how they treat human beings and the earth around them and all that that implies. But I do know one thing: their terror. So, if we can all at least understand this concept. When this global catastrophe unfolds, because it is unfolding now, and once the fabrics of time begin to unfold, they don't stop till they're stretched out nice, flat, and ironed. Page 1 again. Chapter 2. Chapter 2. How do we fight an enemy that is as terrified as we are, but has access to things we don't have access to? With this. Chapter 3. How do we accept that wars cannot be won without compromise, negotiation, and honor? This. You don't have to love your enemy. I mean, that's your enemy. You're going to go to war with this enemy. But if you put those three things together, their terror is just as great as yours. You have the mind to assess. And you have the compassion to yield. When necessary. That's where the American gaslighting anti-movement comes into place. It's an anti-movement. What is anti-movement? That's no movement. That's why it's don't step forward. Don't give an inch. Stand your ground. And the only way to stand your ground is with knowledge. It doesn't take strength of body. It takes strength of mind. Educate, research, learn. Learn everything. The first two books that I ever read that pushed me in this direction were the Communist Manifesto and Sun Tzu's Art of War. Now, a third introduction later on in my life, the I Ching, which was there to begin with, but I didn't use it much at the beginning. I was interested in the knowledge of what Marx and Trotsky and Lenin were trying to pursue, which, like I said, we're not going to get into the philosophy of communism and socialism because they are two different things, and I am not a communist or a socialist. I'm a centrist. So, to me, it's a balance of communal living and physical wealth. I mean, a currency-type barter system is about the only way that a global society like ours can function and trade for, because of all of the factors that go into that. I mean, city dwellers can't grow their own food to an extent, and farmers, the producers of the food can't rightly surround themselves with all the amenities of life and all of the availabilities because, that's the land that is producing and providing. So, there's a saturation and unsaturation, desaturation that needs to take place in order for these balances to occur. And like I said, a communal style living intertwined with a currency-based trade system is adequate in my mind, and that's not a communist or socialist point of view, or even. But it does toe the line of democracy. I mean, like, you have to have a representative type of. I don't like to use the word government because that sounds like authority when the government actually works for the people in a democracy. So I like to say the body of commerce. I like to say the body of commerce because your representatives comprise that body, and the sole purpose really is to mediate and mitigate commerce between your faction or community with others. So, you know, your elected officials, and also I am a believer in law enforcement and protect and serve the people, because you can't take law into your own hands. That's not even anarchy, no. But I am a firm believer in an anarchist approach to the communal living. It's, you do your thing, I'll do my thing. You cross the line, we'll deal with it. And if we go through all those stages and it comes down to a physical affront, well, if it can be avoided, yes. If not, it's going to happen. And like I said, that's where your law enforcement and et cetera, can come in. But these systems have to be put in place where it's not a power that they are given, it's a responsibility. So, to me, the ideal living situation is an anarchist approach where I do my thing, you do your thing, don't judge me, and don't try to press your ideas on me. If we agree on things, we agree on things. If we don't agree on something, we don't. But, in disagreements, if you cross the line, somehow it has to be dealt with. So, that's where these departments, representatives, bodies of commerce can come into play, where they're a backup. And that's what civil court is supposed to be in the first place, is the backup to the inability for two parties to resolve a dispute. That's what the courts are for. And to me, I think that once a state gains economic independence, that those larger bodies of government aren't needed. Like, at this point, I feel like we could dissolve the Fed. We don't need a federal government in this country anymore, because each state has its own economy and it's profitable. So, and each state then could join the United Nations of its own accord if it wanted to, and become members of a larger group for all of the benefits that entails. And if you don't want to, you don't. And and as far as national assets are concerned, to be distributed and divvied up upon the dissolving of the Fed, well, there are myriad of ways this could be done, and myriad of experts out there that could come together, and we could find a way to distribute those assets. And that would take, it takes time, just like any other formation of government policy or dissolution of policies, amendments, ratifications, etc. So, and from my experience, almost every state constitution in the United States mirrors to some major degree the Constitution of the United States in original. So you really, you're not giving up. You're not really giving up much by dissolving that Fed as far as rights are concerned. And most of the Constitution and its ratifications entail handling of overreach, if I might just put it simply like that. Most of it is the rights of the citizens, and then the duty of the citizens when the government gets too powerful. There are those provisions in the Constitution as well. And so, like I said, each state itself has the means with which to be an independent without the federal government. And if states want to combine themselves into coalitions, if you will, then, you know, that's their prerogatives as well. So, like, in the end, I really feel like the United States itself at this point, we are at a turning point, and we don't need revolution here. You know, we don't need a French Revolution or, you know, or a revolutionary colonial war. We need reform. We don't need revolution, we need reform. And that there is where I can close out this manifesto, is that the main goal here with my movement is to educate people on methods, mysteries, and the combining of the known and the unknown. You see, any empaths out there that follow me or are watching this, you can understand what I'm about to say. And this is we're going to go into chapter 4 here, and we'll call this Daguru's views. See, I'm going to say a little bit about myself here, so that you can understand where I'm coming from. And I know that when you listen to this part of this, you might end up thinking to yourself, man, this is just another electric Kool-Aid acid test, or this is just another Brian Jonestown massacre thing, or you know, the Nibiru Society and the Anunnaki are coming to take the people, or some David Koresh shit. And you know, if you've ever seen the A-Team, stopped dreaming. You know that episode of this crazy religious extremist? No, that's not what this is. But enough people in the world are spiritual that they can understand where I'm coming from, because this is you know, a description of me on the inside. See, I'm a transceiver, if you might say that. You know, that energy in your body, that kundalini, the ki that rises through you and cycles out. Most people understand these concepts these days, you know, your chakras and how they move energy. Well, when a person has a feeling, and it rises to form a thought and description of that feeling, well, see, that energy that rises there, I can read that. I can read that like a blind man reads Braille. Because all of those instances, all those facts, all those traumas, all those experiences that people have imprinted on their soul, on that energy beam that cycles through you, I can read that like Braille. And it's scary. It's scary to me, and when they realize I'm doing it, it's scary to them, because what it really comes down to is that feeling you have. There comes that, from the beginning, that hyper-associativism. I can put that feeling into thought before it can reach your brain, and you can associate it and form the thought. I can do it faster than that. See, lightning fast, that's not even close. I'm quantum quick. I'm quantum quick. And that's where it gets a little scary for me and them sometimes, because I can say what you're thinking before you think it. So, as much as the input can be the output. So, again, with all these traumas, these experiences that I've had in my life, that I use to help associate with people and put in words those things that they need to hear from another person who's experienced these troubles. But that's my expertise. I can put into words that you can understand what I see in the mysteries. You know, I can put those mysteries into words that you can relate to, that make sense to you, and that you can use in your daily thought pattern in your life. That's what I have to offer. So, with this manifesto that I've just laid out, that's how I can offer a meaningful resistance without moving forward, without stepping back. You know, Cliffs of Dover, baby. Cliffs of Dover. You know, you ever heard of the White Cliffs of Dover over there in Ireland? Yeah. And I say Cliffs of Dover, baby, because those waves crash and crash and crash endlessly on that wall of rock, and it doesn't give, and it doesn't give. Sure, it wears away slowly over time, but those are famous because they that abalone wears away least of any other shoreline that any has ever found. The Cliffs of Dover, baby. Those waves crash. Don't move an inch. Don't give an inch. Don't move forward. Don't give an inch. Stand your ground. Because if you aggress forward, well, they could say, you know, you're no different than them. But that's not it, man. It's if you step forward, you amplify their terror. But if they crash off of you like the waves on the Cliffs of Dover, their terror subsides to fear. And if they bounce off you twice, that fear degrades to anger. And when they bounce off you the third time, that anger degrades to respect. There you have it, folks. I'm Seki Daguru. That was my manifesto. Take it as you will. But in the end, I'm here to help. I'm not here to smash either side. I'm here to help. We can solve these problems. Like I said, I go through the social media and I dig into Wikipedia, and yet never underestimate Wikipedia. But I dive into as much as I can, and I research, do that fact checking and all that, and you can do that too. And I see a lot of people doing that, and that's great. I see a lot more people doing that than I did 8 years ago on these threads, X, Twitter, and Facebook, and all that. A lot of people now are looking, and that's good. Educate, because in the end, it's the smart ones who are going to survive, and it's the fearless ones who are going to die. Because we can't fight this war as fearless warriors. We've got to fight this war as the gurus. Like I said, I'm Seki Daguru, and I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of you gurus out there on the field, standing that ground. Cliffs of Dover, baby. Cliffs of Dover.